7:44 now. Donald Rumsfeld is no stranger to politics. He served as a congressman early in his career and worked for several presidents over 4 decades. Most recently as Secretary of Defense for President George W. Bush. Now he's trying something completely different. It's a new business venture that we're going to talk to him about in our next half hour. But first, Secretary Rumsfeld, it's good to have you in New York. Rare opportunity to talk to you. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I've known you for more than 20 years. If I told you 20 years ago that in 2016, Donald Trump was going to be the front runner in the Republican side of a presidential campaign, what would you have thought?
It was out of the question. It's just amazing. This election year is so different from most of, if not all of the earlier ones I've experienced.
So as you watch what's unfolding as a conservative Republican, do you see Donald Trump as someone who can unite and broaden the party, or do you see someone who's going to divide the party?
Well, it seems to me I see someone who is touched a nerve in our country. And he's caused people to respond in a way that most politicians have not been able to do. The fact that Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump are able to draw 10, 15, 20, 30,000 people to hear them speak says there's something going on in our country that they're appealing to in a very interesting, unusual way.
In your role as Secretary of Defense, you dealt with President George W. Bush. In his role as Commander-in-Chief, you know what that side of the job entails. Given what challenges face our military forces all around the globe today, would you be comfortable with Donald Trump or Bernie Sanders as Commander-in-Chief?
Goodness, that's the kind of thing you want to get used to. You'd have to think through. But, you know, our system is amazing. It causes the American people, hundreds of millions of human beings, to watch these people run around the track and then make a judgment about them. And what's happening is people are having a chance to look at a very deep, broad field of Republican candidates and a much more modest field of Democratic candidates, and make a judgment about it.
With all due respect, you dodged it. Can you see Donald Trump, you personally, as Commander-in-Chief?
Can I see the person that gets elected by the American people serve as President of the United States? Why, my goodness, we've been doing that for so many years, you bet.
You're still good at this. There's no question about it. Let me ask you about another candidate, Jeb Bush. By all accounts, an extremely qualified candidate, can't get any traction. You know all about the Bush family. Why is that?
Well, I don't know. I suppose there's people who are uncomfortable with a dynasty on the Democrat side or the Republican side. On the other hand, I think people are persuaded by someone who's capable of talking and thinking on their feet, and they compare the various candidates, 14, 15, 16 Republican candidates, and they're making judgments about who's the one who is most likely to be able to handle a difficult presidential campaign against the other party.
I mentioned the Bush family. I have to ask you about a recent book by John Meacham. It was a biography authorized on 41, George H.W. Bush. And he had some things to say about you and your time as Secretary of Defense for his son. He said, quote, "I think he served the president badly. I don't like what he did, and I think it hurt the president having his iron-ass view of everything. There's a lack of humility, a lack of seeing what the other guy thinks. He's more kick-ass, take names, take numbers." Were you surprised by those comments?
No, we were never close. He was kind of to the manner born, and I wasn't. He, as I say, we were never close, so I guess it didn't surprise me.
Let me ask you about...
I was amazed that he said what he said when he said it, because I didn't think it was very complimentary of his son, George W. Bush, and I didn't think it was very helpful to his other son who was running for president. So I thought it was kind of a strange thing for him to be doing.
Let me ask you about ISIS. So much of debate of how to defeat them. The President Obama, thinks he can defeat, or we can defeat ISIS without large numbers of U.S. boots on the ground. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah, you know, I don't agree or disagree. It seems to me that if you want to hold real estate and eliminate somebody from holding real estate, that requires people on the ground. But on the other hand, what we're dealing with here is a long war, a long struggle against a very fundamentally different kind of opponent and enemy, and it's going to take many, many years to deal with that problem.
But just quickly, if you were Secretary of Defense right now, would you recommend to the President that he put U.S. boots on the ground?
Oh, well, I'm not Secretary of Defense, and what I'd want to do is sit down with people and look at it, and it seems to me that is only a part of the problem. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, and this president clearly has not made a decision with respect to what the nature of the problem is we're facing or how it ought to be dealt with.
Former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld. And as I said, you're going to come back in our next half hour and talk about an exciting new venture for you.
Good.
Thanks very much.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.